Ashley Monroe, a humble travel agent, gives up her first-class plane seat to a severely burned soldier, Colonel Reeves, enduring a grueling 14-hour flight in his place. Her simple act of compassion restores a sense of humanity. Weeks later, military helicopters land at her home. Reeves, now revealed as a Medal of Honor recipient, brings her into a classified world as thanks. She's honored at military bases, shares a private beach dinner with Reeves, and is invited to accompany him on his final medical trip. Back home, a model of Marine One and a heartfelt note await her, a tribute to kindness that changed a life. Ashley Monroe moved through Denver International Airport like someone rehearsing joy, half smile ready, boarding pass clutched in trembling hands. A travel agent who'd spent her life crafting adventures she could never afford. She was finally going on one. Her co-workers had pooled miles in savings for a single indulgence, a first-class seat to her brother's wedding in Seattle. For once, Ashley wouldn't just be the planner. She'd be the passenger. At gate C-48, she stood tall until she noticed him. The man near the corner looked like he'd been through fire and barely survived it. Skin tight with grafts. Eyes heavy. He moved like gravity was personal. Families instinctively pulled children away. A businessman halted mid-stride and turned around. He dropped a small toiletry bag, its contents scattering like broken glass. No one moved. Ashley stepped forward, ignoring the stares. "Here," she said softly, kneeling and collecting a razor, toothpaste, a battered comb. Their hands brushed. He looked at her, really looked. Not with suspicion, but disbelief. "Thank you," he whispered. She caught a glimpse of his ticket. 48E. Last row. Middle seat. Ashley's boarding pass burned in her hand. 1A. She didn't think. She just acted. "You should take my seat," she said. He blinked. "What?" "Take it. I'll switch with you." The man tried to protest. She insisted. A gate agent overheard and helped reassign the seats. By the time Ashley took her new place, cramped between a teen blasting rap, through earbuds and an elderly woman who used her as a pillow, it was too late to change her mind. The flight was 14 hours of pure discomfort. Her meal tray smelled of wet cardboard. The seat wouldn't recline. By hour 6, her back screamed. By hour 10, her clothes were creased beyond recognition. She missed the pre-wedding dinner, missed her moment. But somehow, she still slept that night with a clear conscience. She had no idea that the man she'd helped was a legend wearing scars instead of medals, and that her life was about to explode like a sunrise scene from 30,000 feet. 3 weeks later, Ashley Monroe was dreaming of surfboards and champagne toasts. Her brother's wedding, when the explosion hit. Boom. Her windows trembled. The floor shook beneath her bed. She shot upright, heart slamming like a drumline. Another boom. Not thunder. Something heavier. Mechanical. Controlled. Her phone buzzed with alerts. She leapt out of bed, yanked the curtains. Marine One, the presidential helicopter, was landing in the field behind her rental home. Its rotors thundered, flattening the long grass. Flanked by 4 black SUVs and armed guards pouring out like a SWAT team, Ashley's legs went cold. This had to be a mistake. A manhunt? A fugitive hiding nearby? She opened the door in her pajamas, barefoot, mind spinning. Across the street, neighbors filmed from porches. One whispered, "Is she a spy?" Another, "Maybe she dated someone in the Pentagon." A knock at her front door nearly made her jump out her skin. 2 Secret Service agents stood there, impassive behind dark glasses. "Ms. Monroe," the tall one said, voice cutting like glass, "we need you to prepare to meet a senior military visitor. You're not in trouble." That last line only made her panic worse. She was told to dress quickly and wait by the porch. Within minutes, a 3rd vehicle arrived. The door opened and a man stepped out. He walked with the stillness of a mountain. Colonel Daniel Reeves. Full uniform. Medals that caught the sunlight. One side of his face had been destroyed by flame, grafted, taut, but the other still held the shadow of a soldier's calm. Ashley gasped, "You're the man from the airport." He nodded once. "I'm the one who should be thanking you. I didn't do anything, she said. His voice lowered. That's not true. He explained. 9 months earlier, during an extraction mission in Mosul, he'd charged into a burning compound to pull his men out. He got them all, but it cost him half his skin, a lung, and any peace in public. Airlines made him sit in shadows. Kids screamed. Adults looked away. Some requested to move when seated near him. But on that plane, for the first time, someone had traded gold for ashes, without asking for anything. You reminded me I was a monster, he said. You reminded me I was still a man. Ashley felt her throat tighten. I only switched seats. You gave me dignity, he replied. And that's not something I felt in a long time. A soldier approached, whispered something to him. The colonel nodded. Then he turned back to Ashley. I told someone your story, he said. Now, some very important people would like to meet you. Ashley could barely respond before the rotor blades fired up again. The colonel gestured to the helicopter. You're coming with me. She stood frozen, wind lifting her hair, her heart crashing against her ribs. Behind her, neighbors watched with wide eyes, capturing every second on their phones. Ashley Monroe, the girl who gave up first class, was boarding a military chopper. Destination unknown. Her instinct screamed to say no, but something deeper, older, pushed her forward. Not every flight begins at the gate. Some begin with a choice you make when no one's watching. She stepped aboard, and the sky opened up. The Gulf Stream C-37A roared to life, slicing through the clouds like a silver bullet. Ashley Monroe sat in a leather seat softer than her bed back home, belted in, knees shaking. Across from her sat Colonel Reeves, no longer in full uniform but still radiating command. Beside him, a man in a dark suit monitored a secure laptop. Another guard stood by the door. Ashley leaned forward. Where are we going? Hawaii, Reeves said. Bellows Air Force Station. Hawaii? She blinked. Why? He didn't smile. Because you made a ripple in the right place. The flight was nonstop, and nothing about it felt real. The aircraft was fitted like a mobile command post. Classified documents locked behind tempered glass. Encrypted radios humming quietly. Ashley was offered a meal better than any airline dish she'd ever seen. Salmon, jasmine rice, mango chutney. She barely touched it. I don't belong here, she muttered. Reeves heard her anyway. You do. When they touched down at Bellows, the sun was setting. Fiery orange over military terrain, restricted to all but the highest clearance. An escort led them to a black SUV, which carried them to the Hale Cole Resort. Ashley's room was in the dignitary wing. Marble bathroom, ocean-facing balcony, a welcome letter embossed with presidential seal. She was given a change of clothes. Everything fit. Perfectly. The next morning, a Navy captain named Markley escorted her to a private helicopter. This next part, he said, most civilians never see it. Ashley was flown low over Pearl Harbor, right over the USS Arizona Memorial, then out across the ocean to a restricted naval installation built into the cliffs. There, she met Admiral Harris. He extended his hand. You're the woman who made a soldier feel like a man again. I just switched seats. No, he said. You lit a match where the world had gone dark. They took her underground, through a series of declassified corridors showing tactical displays of global operations. In one room, a wall was covered in photos, all Medal of Honor recipients. One spot was empty. Colonel Reeves refused to attend his own induction, the Admiral said. He said the medal felt like a petty gift. But 2 weeks ago, during his White House ceremony, he told your story. Ashley froze. What? In front of the First Lady, top brass, world leaders. And when he finished, he said, there's a woman somewhere in Colorado who reminded me I wasn't broken, that I was still worth something. Markley nodded. The First Lady cried. So did half the room. I don't understand why I'm here. You cracked something open in a man no metal could, the Admiral replied. And not just any man. Reeves was dead inside. Your act wasn't big, but it was pure. That kind of thing, rare in our world. They showed her recordings, blurred for security, but she could hear Reeves' voice in that quiet Medal of Honor room. She didn't flinch, didn't hesitate. She saw me and didn't look away. That was the moment I knew I had something left to fight for, even if it was just dignity. Ashley sat in stunned silence. The Navy captain led her to an observation deck high above the coast. Wind whipped across the railing. Below, soldiers marched in formation, while waves exploded against the rocks. He turned to her. "You know what Colonel Reeves said to me after that flight?" She shook her head. He said, she saw past the wreckage, "Treated me like a human, not a ghost. I'd follow that kind of person into combat." Ashley leaned on the railing, breathless. "I planned dream vacations," she whispered. "That's all I've ever done." The captain looked out the horizon. "Maybe, but one woman with a broken back in a middle seat just changed the future of the most feared man in U.S. Special Forces." Later that night, Ashley was invited to a quiet dinner on a beach lot behind military barricades, with only 2 chairs facing the sea. Lanterns flickered. A fire crackled nearby. Colonel Reeves sat waiting, dressed in casual clothes that somehow looked more foreign on him than a uniform ever had. Ashley took the seat across from him. She didn't speak. He did. "You didn't just save me on that plane," he said. "You gave me back something I didn't know I'd lost." The tide came in, silent as reverence. He lifted a glass. "To dignity." She hesitated, then touched hers to his. "And middle seats." They both laughed for the first time. And somewhere beneath the surface of this impossible, classified, beautiful night, something began to shift. The sky over the private beach glowed with molten gold, casting long shadows behind Colonel Daniel Reeves and Ashley Monroe as they sat beside a driftwood fire. The colonel's posture, always rigid in uniform, had eased, but his eyes, even softened by candlelight, carried the weight of buried battles. He cleared his throat, something unreadable flickering behind his voice. "I never talk about that day in Mosul," he said, gazing at the flame. "The explosion took everything. My men, what was left of them, dragged me out. I don't even remember the first 6 surgeries." Ashley said nothing. She knew this wasn't a conversation. It was a confession. "They told me I was a hero," he said, "but I hated that word. What's heroic about waking up every morning and flinching at your own reflection?" He looked at her now. "Until that flight, until you gave up your seat, like it cost you nothing, when it cost you everything." Ashley felt heat rise to her face. "I didn't even think about it. That's what made it matter." He leaned forward. "I need to ask something of you, and it's not easy for me." She tensed. He pulled a small envelope from his jacket and handed it over. Inside was a boarding pass. First class. Destination Melbourne, Australia. Departure 48 hours. "What is this?" she asked, blinking. "My final trip for burn reconstruction," Reeves said quietly. "I'll be under for 5 days. Skin grafts, nerve adjustments. It'll be brutal. But after that, I'll be done." Ashley's fingers trembled. "You wanted to come with you?" "I've traveled that road alone for years," he said. "Doctors, airports, silent hotels. It's always sterile, always cold. And I realized I don't want to face it alone this time." Ashley stared at the boarding pass. "You have a team. Soldiers. Family." Reeves looked down. "No family left. And my team, they salute me. But they don't see me." He paused, the firelight catching the raw edges of his grafted skin. You saw past the scars, past the legend, and into what was left of the man underneath. Ashley swallowed hard. "I'm not military. I don't belong in that world." "I don't want someone from that world," he replied. "I want someone who makes the world human again." She stared into the surf, the invitation pressing into her lap like it weighed 1,000 pounds. "Why me?" He answered with no hesitation. "Because you gave me dignity when the world gave me pity." Silence stretched between them, not uncomfortable, just heavy with everything left unspoken. He stood slowly and extended a hand. "No pressure. But if you decide to come, I'll be waiting at gate 6A. The next morning, Ashley walked barefoot through the surf, the boarding pass in her hand. Her phone had exploded with texts from coworkers, friends, even distant relatives, all asking where she was, who she was with, why the president's helicopter had landed in a boulder field. She said nothing to anyone. How do you explain to people that a moment of compassion in a crowded airport became a classified journey halfway around the world? 2 days later, she stood in the terminal at Honolulu International Airport, staring at Gate 6A. Colonel Reeves was there, standing with perfect posture, duffel bag slung over one shoulder, eyes scanning every face. Then he saw her. He didn't smile. Neither did she. But he nodded. She nodded back. And together, they boarded a flight bound for something far more profound than healing, something neither of them had words for yet. On the plane, seated beside each other in the hush of first-class luxury, Ashley looked out the window as the jet began to taxi. "I'm scared," she admitted. Reeves didn't blink. "So am I." Then he reached for her hand, not as a soldier, not as a symbol, but as a man reclaiming the pieces of himself once thought lost in fire. Ashley squeezed back. The wheels left the ground. And for the first time in years, both of them felt lighter than air. Ashley Monroe returned to Boulder under gray skies and soft winds, her heart full of stories she could never post, experiences stitched into her soul like quiet metals. Her phone buzzed with everyday life, missed calls, office reminders, overdue grocery lists, but none of it felt urgent anymore. Waiting on her porch was a box. No label, no return address. She carried it inside, set it on the table, and lifted the lid. Inside sat a pristine scale replica Marine One, its rotors crafted in delicate metal, its seal etched with precision. Nestled beneath it, a handwritten note on thick parchment. Some collect luxury. You collect humanity. Thank you for reminding me who I am. Daniel. Ashley pressed her fingers to her lips, exhaling a breath she hadn't realized she was holding. She placed a model on her desk at Aspen Ridge Travel, right beside a collage of postcards. Santorini, Kyoto, Patagonia. Places she used to dream of. Now, next to them, a new row formed. Bellows Field, Pearl Harbor, Melbourne, a small private cove in Oahu lit by lanterns and impossible conversation. Clients asked her about the helicopter. It all started with a middle seat, she'd say, smiling, and a moment of compassion. No titles, no grandstanding, just a memory of choosing kindness when no one was watching, and learning that sometimes the smallest acts ripple farthest. And somewhere across the ocean, a soldier stood taller because of her. Not because of what she gave, but because of what she saw.